Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to this conversation on core optimization and traffic management for a report by Sense of Feeling collaboration with RCI Wireless News. Today I have Danielle Elaine Smith, Marketing Director of Aleppo, talking to us about how important it is to get the subscriber viewpoint and perspective in optimizing the traffic management in mobile network. Elaine, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Monica.
So to get started, can you tell us what is it you do at Aleppo and what is it Aleppo does in this area?
Sure. So I am the Director of Marketing at Aleppo. I've been with Aleppo here for the better part of 5 years here in Austin, Texas. And in my tenure with Aleppo, I've worked pretty heavily in the area of policy and charging control. I was fortunate to start right as LTE as a network technology gained a lot of momentum in the marketplace. And so I've seen it evolve pretty significantly in the past 5 years. The company, Aleppo, to start with, we make software technology for the core network and service provider IT. We primarily focus on policy and charging control, as well as real-time convergent charging and billing, BSS, OSS, and we also work pretty heavily in carrier Wi-Fi, enabling Wi-Fi offload and Wi-Fi hotspot monetization. Our focus as a technology provider is to help mobile operators and internet service providers to be more successful in next generation IP-based data networks, both on the fixed side with technologies like DSL and cable, and as well as the mobile broadband side in LTE. So we're working with operators to help them to make the transition to an IP network environment gradually and gracefully, and also looking to help them to sell more data and sell more data services.
Yeah, and that is really a crucial trend right now, that we see operators trying to be more and more attuned to what the subscribers want, but at the same time finding it difficult to find out what is it they really want. And so this is all quite interesting. Can you tell us how you saw this whole field moving over the last few years? Because there is much more. There is a big shift, that it's going on right now.
Absolutely. So we've seen policy control specifically evolve pretty significantly over the past few years. Originally, policy control was used mostly as a traffic management tool to help operators to better allocate network resources. And today we're seeing the policy and charging control really as the genesis of an operator's data business, right? So we're seeing use cases that not only define how network resources should be used when there's congestion in the network, for example, but also can we deliver application-based data bundles? Can we deliver roaming data passes specific to certain areas or countries? So we're seeing the use cases for policy control really expand and move from just being network resource-oriented to being customer-oriented and revenue-focused as well.
And I guess that's one way to go. And at the same time, there seems to be also a trend from having a policy that it's pretty much strict and very kind of slow to be pushed. So operators would plan months in advance for a new package, to something that it's much closer to real time, where operators can easily go and introduce new services. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The functional, role of policy control, like a PCRF, a policy and charging rules function in the network, is to use real-time and highly contextual information from the network and from the subscriber and from other IT systems in order to make real-time policy decisions. So the PCRF will consider, is there network congestion right now? Is the subscriber roaming right now? Which device is the subscriber on and connecting to? Which services are they trying to use? Which applications? So all of that, that real-time information becomes the basis for building policy rules and then building policy-driven data packages and data offers.
Mm-hmm. So basically what's happening is that you have a policy in place that is designed based on the operator's understanding of how the network operates, works, and what the subscribers want, and the QoE to automatically adjust to the network conditions. And that can be done in real time. And so I guess that what we're seeing is that the policy is working much more closely with everything else in the core network. Is that true?
Yes, absolutely. And not only that, but it's not a one-way street. It's not the sense that the operator makes a business decision, builds a policy rule, policy package, and sends it out into the universe and hopes for the best on the subscriber end. What we're seeing is more of a continuous feedback loop, wherein the operator makes those business decisions, sets the policy. The policy is determined by the real-time network information. And then we send it out to the subscriber, but then using real-time analytics and insights from the subscriber and from the network, we're able to kind of feed that back into the decision-making process by the operator, and then feed that back into the types of policy packages that the operator is building and sending out. So we really see it as a kind of a constant feedback loop of, put a product out, put a package out, collect analytics on it, make decisions, and refine. So I think that the subscriber experience can be gleaned from the types of analytics that operators are able to collect through a PCRF in order to make better decisions for the subscriber, but also for the network. A lot of times when we look at and we talk about network capacity, we're talking about, how do we handle this capacity crunch? But we can also expose opportunities where maybe the network is underutilized, or where we can find points of value in the network and kind of expose those to deliver better quality of experience and to better monetize services.
And I think that you're talking about a very important issue here, because since for an operator it's very difficult to actually understand what quality of experience is because it's so subjective, one good way to learn about it is to try different services, different, to change the details so that see what happens, see what is that subscribers know, because they by and large don't know. So it's a huge learning opportunity there. So the ability for the operator to change in response to external events, what the competitors do or what the subscribers do, it's a good way for them to learn. So it's a continuous learning process. Now, what that means is that the operators need to be able to change their product offering pretty quickly. So they cannot just wait for a month, because that would just take too long. So what are you doing to compress the time it takes to change a policy or to offer a new service?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we've done with our policy and charging control solutions is a few things to, as you say, compress that time between idea or business decision and product on the market. The first is that we deliver our product with a pre-built library of policy assets, and each of those policy assets is really mapped to a business use case. So in our library, you would find use cases for location-based services, for social media bundles, for data happy hours, for sponsored apps, all of those emerging use cases in the market. Operators, a client of ours, are able to have the assurance that those use cases are available to them. So that's one way that we are shortening that time frame. On the actual user experience side of the product, which I won't go into too heavily, but we've really tried to to go to great lengths to make it very simple and to reduce the learning curve to get products out the door faster. So you can drag and drop policy rules in. They're mapped to your business use case. You can build really business-friendly policy packages and push them out the door to your subscribers in a matter of minutes.
Yeah, and that's very useful because I would imagine that a lot of, most operators who deal with the same choices that in the past, they would have to, customize their solutions. So it's a much more of an ad hoc type of development of a new service. So now they can choose to have a set of, I guess it's a more of a toolbox approach. Is that why you?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a toolbox approach of I guess business use cases. And another thing that we're doing is we're making this library incredibly dynamic. We're constantly developing new use cases based on operator feedback, based on what we see in the market, and delivering those to our customers. One important point that I think is worth noting because it ties into this overall conversation about evolution from legacy services into an kind of IP-driven world is that for us, it's important that operators are able to test, to deliver new data offers without impacting or jeopardizing their legacy services, their legacy mobile services. And so the way that we're developing our products is to work alongside those legacy services, to plug into your existing network and plug into your CRM and maybe your legacy charging system and to be able to test and deliver new types of data offers without impacting those legacy services.
Yeah, and I guess for an operator, that's really crucial to be able to put everything end to end. Now, another thing that operators are increasingly doing is to listen to what their subscribers say. So not just telling them this is what you can do, this is the offer, but also get their input. So from a policy point of view, there is also the possibility that not only they set policy, but they allow some flexibility and some choice to the subscribers. Are you seeing any change on that on that front, on the subscribers sort of setting their own policy as well?
Yeah, I think it's important to include the subscriber in the mix of I guess, conditions in determining policy. We know that, as you said, because the data experience, because QoE is so highly subjective, in some cases, it's really the subscriber himself who is the best judge of what QoE he needs in that moment. And so what we're seeing is a lot more peripheral tools that bring the subscriber into the mix. And let me give you a concrete example. We've developed a companion mobile application for end users so that they can get a bandwidth on demand by a turbocharge package. So they can, let's say if they need to download a heavy file or to watch an HD movie, that they can purchase maybe a temporary bandwidth boost. In other cases, we've seen subscribers who want to make their data package stretch to the end of the month. And so they self-select to reduce their bandwidth speeds, reduce their QoS maybe for certain applications or all applications in order to make their data services last according to their own needs. So I think what we're understanding is that overall in policy control, it's not in QoE, it's not about always delivering the highest quality of service to subscribers, but rather to deliver that quality of service that is ideal for the subscriber, for the network, and for the operator's business goals at the same time.
Yeah, so it's as you say, it's more than just sort of upselling. It's more than just offering the best, because I guess that's a very good way to leverage the network resources. So not always provide the best, but sometimes provide something that it's not something that it's valuable to the subscriber, even though it's not top quality, because they have obviously constraints in terms of how much they're willing to spend. Now, you spend a lot of time talking to operators. And what is it you see that right now they need the most? What are their major pain points that are trying to address?
Sure. Well, I think what's been a theme of this conversation and a lot of my conversations with operators is that operators are really still looking for how to monetize data services, how to best monetize data services. We know that in most markets, mobile voice revenues are either plateauing or declining, and operators are really looking to data services as a strategy to fill that gap or that revenue gap. Getting services to market rapidly is always a pain point. I think we've addressed that a little bit, but giving operators the tools to be highly responsive and highly agile is really important to us, and it constantly comes up. From a use case perspective, from a policy and charging and data monetization use case perspective, I'm always surprised that fair use policy is always like in the top 3 use cases, because to me it seems like such a basic use case, but it's always an important one for operators. And then from there, we're seeing a lot of divergence in the types of data offers that operators are looking to implement. We tend to work in emerging markets and in highly competitive places in Asia and Africa and Latin America, where operators really need to be able to differentiate. So being able to offer data rollover, emergency top-up, temporary data passes, free Facebook after 10 p.m., all sorts of different use cases that really vary and run the gambit. But the common denominator is really that it requires advanced real-time policy control to bring it together and make it work.
Well, this is actually quite interesting because oftentimes we look at the big operators in developed markets, but as you said, oftentimes there is much more innovation among smaller operators in emerging countries. And what do you think it's so? Why are they more willing to try new services?
That is a great question. I think that we work with a lot of greenfield operators that might just have more of that kind of bootstrap and let's innovate and test things because we're starting out. As I said, because we work in really highly competitive emerging markets, I think that the status quo in a lot of places really hasn't been developed. And so it's really fun for us to get to work in those environments and test new things. For us, again, it's really important to be able to allow or to help our customers to test new services, test them quickly, but also test them with a small segment and collect that data and before they open them up to their broader customer base. So one thing that I'm excited about, just to kind of give you a heads up on a new product feature that we're working on, is creating more test simulation within our product itself. So looking ahead, we're looking at how can we help operators to not just guess how the policy is going to work when they get it out the door, but to be able to simulate it and to run a test bed with users before they open it up more broadly.
Yeah, so there is a different way in which they can roll out new services. That's all quite interesting. If you were to say, what is it special about Aleppo? What is that sets you apart in this field? That it's really a hot field right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say a few things. First, as an organization, we tend to be much more lean and agile and responsive to our customers. We don't have long, complex development cycles. We're a really product-oriented company, and so we put a lot of momentum in getting new features and new products out the door quickly to our customers. we're also very business oriented when it comes to data. Like I said in the beginning of our conversation, our focus right now is really how do we help our customers to sell more data services. And so the way that we build and design our product is not just for the CTO, but also for the CMO. So I think that we're taking into consideration not just building technical products, but building products that work for business as well as the network itself.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, you're actually hitting a very important issue is that your audience within the operator is also widening. So you want to make sure by having an easy interface that different groups can all contribute. So it's a much more accessible product. Have you seen that to be a change in the way operators use policy in the sense that it's not confined to just a few individuals, but it becomes more of a operator-wide effort where more people are involved?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the stakeholders in policy control have evolved just alongside the functional role of policy. You know, as we move from it being a broadband traffic manager into being a data monetization ecosystem, we've definitely seen the users and the stakeholders and the decision makers change to be and brought in. Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, in closing, so this is an area that it's really changing very fast. What do you expect to see over, say, the next 5 years, and what type of new features, products, or directions you're working at Alepo?
Right. So one thing that I do see starting to happen is we're seeing a lot more of these use cases that maybe traditionally have been limited to mobile broadband networks, 3G and LTE, now on the Wi-Fi networks, on carrier Wi-Fi networks. I think that we'll see much more advanced policy control in Wi-Fi networks to enable the same types of services and the same types of offerings that operators are offering over LTE networks. Obviously, we'll see much more convergence of these different network technologies and operators being able to kind of provide more consistency and convergence, not only in how they package these types of services and offers, but how customers move fluidly from LTE to Wi-Fi and back and forth.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Danielle, for the sharing your insights with us. And this was a conversation again on the core optimization and traffic management for a report by Sense of Feeling in collaboration with RCR Wireless. Danielle, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks so much.
And thank you all for attending and listening in into this conversation.